Welcome to Run SDJ and it's shoe review time. Today I am looking at the Mizuno Neo Vistas. I got my hands on a pair during launch week in mid-June, so I am well aware that I am not the first to publish my review, but that's for what I think is a good reason. I personally like to really put a shoe through its paces over a good period of time and distance. That's because in my experience, a shoe can behave quite differently once it's been broken in compared to the initial few kilometers. So far, I have logged over 125 kilometers in my Neo Vistas across a wide variety of runs, so I think I've gained a pretty good understanding of them. This is my first pair of Mizuno running shoes, and up until now, being totally honest, I'd never really considered trying them as a brand, but there was something about the Neo Vistas that really piqued my interest. But before diving into my experience, let's cover some of the facts and the figures. Mizuno describes the Neo Vista as a new concept thick-soled running training shoe designed to be more efficient and less burdensome even when training at high intensity. The shoe retails for £150 here in the UK and €180 or dollars, and is available in sizes up to UK 13, US 14 and EU 48.5, which is perfect for me as I am generally a UK 13. In my size, the shoe weighs 331 grams. Comparatively, the Nike Invincible 3 weighs 400 grams, the Asics Nova Blast 4 is 325 grams, and my race shoe, the Hoka Rocket 2, is 288 grams. The Neo Vista has a stack height of 44.5mm in the heel and 36.5 in the forefoot, giving it an 8mm drop. The midsole is made from Mizuno NZ, if that's how you say it, Next foam, which Mizuno say offers excellent softness, rebound, and durability. It's actually an EVA based foam infused with nitrogen rather than a PEBA based foam, which you might expect with this level of softness. It also features what Mizuno calls smooth speed assist, inspired by short distance spikes to reduce muscle strain around the calf. The shoe includes a full-length nylon wave plate, not carbon, with a forked design said to give a snappier response. And the outsole is made from Mizuno's X10, a claimed durable carbon rubber for longer wear in high impact areas. The upper is a seamless one-piece material with an integrated tongue with some reinforcement around the heel for additional support. Now, onto my first impressions. Straight out of the box, the Neo Vistas look different from any running shoe I've seen. The men's launch triple blue colourway is a little bit bland given its overall physical presence. I far preferred the women's launch colourway of white and sky blue. A month after release, and it looks like some other colours are starting to hit the market, including a black pair with some green and pink accents and a fluorescent green pair with red and black accents, which I think would be my choice, but at the moment they look like they may only be available in Japan. Despite the bulky midsole, the shoe feels pretty light in the hand. This is likely due to the large cutout that exposes the nylon wave plate, which is quite reminiscent of the Hoka Rocket 2s. The shoe feels really high quality thanks to the one-piece upper. There's no rough finishing and it feels really premium. It has different levels of stretch depending on the part of the upper. The collar and the integrated tongue are incredibly stretchy, but it firms up a bit as you get into the toe box and onto the sides beyond the lace stitching. The fit is described as sock-like, and I think that is spot on. It's incredibly comfortable right out of the box. I would say it fits slightly large to size. I have plenty of room at the end of the toe box, and given the softness of the upper material, I think potentially going down to a UK 12 might have been fine for me. I'm used to soft mid-soled shoes like the Nike Invincible 1 and 2, which I use for daily training, and the Hoka Rocket X2, which I use for racing, and the Neo Vista definitely felt in that category. I only recently spotted that the strobel lining under the insole is quite cushioned in itself, which to me feels quite rare. Even on softer running shoes, in my experience, there really isn't any cushioning in the lining itself. This probably adds to the super soft feeling that the Neo Vistas give you straight out of the box. They did have a certain unique feeling on the foot, definitely feeling a bit more nimble than a Nike Invincible, and I'd say a lot closer to the Hoka Rockets on first impression, but with a little bit more width in the shoe's geometry. Speaking of the geometry, when I put these on for the first time, it made me feel a little bit unsteady when standing or walking on first wear, but I got used to them quite quickly. I have flat arches and have had some issues with running shoes with my arch bulging over the medial side, but not with these. However, they are very neutral feeling with little arch support, which I'll discuss a little bit later. The heel tab is the highest I have ever had on a pair of running shoes, which for some people might be a bit of a concern due to the worry of it rubbing, but so far for me, this hasn't caused any issues at all. The top of the heel tab draws away from the foot around the Achilles tendon area, so the part actually in contact with the foot doesn't feel any different to any normal height heel tab in all honesty. So how do they run? Over the last month, as I've said, I've run over 125 kilometers in the Neo Vistas. They've been my go-to for almost every run, except for a couple, including some trail runs. I'm in a structured training block at the moment for the Chicago Marathon, and I've had the opportunity to test these shoes across easy, tempo, interval, and long runs, including sessions at the running track. My first runs in them were easy paced runs, and straight out of the box they felt good at the slower paces. At my slower paces of around 5 minutes 15 to 5 minutes 30 per kilometre pace, some shoes can feel a bit clunky, flat and unresponsive, but not the Neo Vistas. The midsole softness and the outsole's rocker shape make transitions even at the slower paces smooth, and the midsole foam doesn't feel mushy or unresponsive. They remain responsive even at the slower paces, making longer runs feel effortless and keeping my legs fresh. They also feel like they are propelling you to perhaps 15 seconds or so faster per kilometre pace than you feel you are doing, perhaps once again due to the rocker shape of the outsole combined with the responsiveness of the foam and maybe even at this pace from the wave plate. Compared to my typical go-to daily or recovery shoes, which are the Nike Invincible 1s or 2s, the Neo Vistas are also quiet and nimble. I've had people comment more than once that they can hear me coming a mile away when I'm wearing the Invincibles. But it is during those faster paced efforts where the Neo Vistas really feel like they shine, and I think this is where the nylon wave plate really starts coming into play. On the track, they handle things really well, keeping my legs energized throughout the entirety of tough sessions, such as 1 kilometre repeats at around 4 minutes 30 per kilometre pace, through to faster, snappier sets like 12 by 400 metre intervals at around 3 minutes 45 to 4 minutes per kilometre pace, ending both sessions as strongly as I'd started them. But for this review, I really wanted to test the Neo Vistas in a race, so I entered a 10k road race at Home Pierpont in Nottingham, which I also took part last year in a pair of Hoka Carbon 2s, getting a time of 45 minutes and 3 seconds. Having moved on from the Carbon 2s, typically in this scenario I would have reached for my Hoka Rocket 2s, which I wore for a lot of my faster sessions in my training block for the Paris Marathon earlier this year, including the marathon itself, so I was really intrigued how the Neo Vistas would perform. Despite not training for a 10k PB, I set a 100-second road 10k lifetime PB of 43 minutes 17, which is also 70 seconds faster than I've ever run 10k on a track, largely, I think, due to the shoe's responsiveness and comfort. I expected the Neo Vistas to perform well, but I was completely blown away with how they, and I, performed in that race. The foam and nylon plate combination provided a very unexpected performance boost, and the soft knit upper was super comfortable throughout the entire race. Considering also that that race was my third tough training day in a row, following a tempo run and an interval run, both in about 28-degree temperatures, all in the Neo Vistas, I think that says something about how they keep the legs feeling comparatively fresh. The X10 carbon rubber appears to be pretty robust. I typically see the outsole starting to wear towards the rear on the lateral side of my running shoes. The slightly coarse outsole material here has started to become a little bit smooth on this area, but nothing I wouldn't expect at this stage. And now just a few of the downsides. As I mentioned earlier, the Neo Vistas are very neutral with no real arch support, which could be an issue if you need that support, which as it turns out, I do. And really, I know this, having been in some kind of stability shoe for most of my running life. I started to experience pain in my right foot arch after runs about 2 weeks into wearing the Neo Vistas. Initially, I hoped it would just go away, but it didn't. I did, however, resolve this by swapping the flimsy included insoles for some Foot Active sports insoles with much better arch support. The upper's stretchy fabric also feels like it lacks much structure, aside from around the heel where there is some reinforcement. This has caused me to lack full confidence making tight corners at fast paces. Sweeping turns are fine, but I feel less confident on sharp, say 90-degree turns, so I've either found myself slowing down or trying to make a smoother arc of a turn if the surroundings have allowed it. But despite these minor issues, I would say that the Neo Vistas are my favourite running shoes to date. For me, and based on my personal experience, it's a hybrid of the Nike Invincible and the Hoka Rocket 2s, combining max cushioned responsiveness and a solid performer across those slower run days, while still being a bit of a beast on race day. And with the insole issue hopefully sorted, I'm looking forward to a lot more kilometres in the Neo Vistas. They are currently my top choice for the Chicago Marathon, and it's going to take something pretty special to change that. So those are some of my thoughts, and what do you think? Have you tried the Neo Vistas, or are you considering them? And are there any other do-it-all shoes out there that you think I should review? Let me know down in the comments. Please like and subscribe for some more running content. I'm currently putting the Asics Superblast 2 through their paces, so I'll hopefully have a review for those up soon. But until then, I'll see you next time. See ya.